Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of Board Chitless. 2 episodes in as many weeks. We're on a bit of a roll at the moment. I'm Leki, and this week I'm joined by
Sam,
Daz,
and Tristan.
And we've been playing Samurai Jack, Back to the Past, and Resident Evil 2. I think I've got that pretty much nailed as a...
That was awesome. That
Yeah.
sounded just like the game.
Excellent. That's what I was
As long
going
as you put
for.
loads of effects on it when you're cutting this.
I don't think there's any required. I think I've got a job as a voiceover artist now. Samurai Jack, Back to the Past. It's from USAopoly, who did send us a review copy. It's a set collection game for 2 to 5 players, and it's based on the cartoon series from Cartoon Network, Samurai Jack, the same name. And it does a pretty good job of following the TV show. Daz, you've seen the Telebob program, and does it follow it pretty well?
well, in terms of the look and style and the artwork, they've got that bob on. It's really, really nice, nicely made and constructed as well. In terms of the inclusions from the series, there's a lot of nods to there's quite a few sort of standout episodes which had particular characters that cropped up only once, like was it Odin? Who else did we see on there? I think Ra, Spartans, and things like that. So they appear, yeah. So it looks like it's very true to the series itself. Nice and stylish looking, yeah.
Yeah, I felt the same. A lot of it, because the game itself is it's card driven in terms of like a market. You've got all the players. None of you actually play Samurai Jack, which was a shock to me once I found out. And I was like, oh, that's half the reason I wanted to play. But then we sort of read the rules and got going with it. And then I realised it's the way that each character actually supports Jack on his sort of quest against Aku. That made it feel like the TV show actually is. He goes around making friends along the way, and they don't directly make him stronger, but it becomes a bit wiser and better for it. Yeah. Okay. So Tristan and Sam, you've not seen the TV program, have you?
I saw it many moons ago.
Yeah.
So I don't really know about the how closely the theme is, because I'm just not as familiar with the the brand. But I liked it. It was it was a very, very light game, but we all sort of said it has a feel of sort of Taekaido.
Yeah.
Obviously very styled very differently, but it was dead easy to pick up. I had Raphael show me how to do 2 moves, then I was like, okay, I get this. Yeah, back into it now. Pretty easy to fly through.
Yeah.
Opening gambit for a game. Probably it says, I think is it 13 plus?
Yeah.
Age wise. I would have thought it would have been a bit younger than that, to be honest.
Well, an 8-year-old taught you the rules, so I'm going to say yes.
This is Gamer's son, though. He's 8, but in terms of games, he's about 40. So
I think that's very much a components thing. Loads of companies put that on the box now, like 13 plus or 14 plus, because it allows you to duck certain. I can't remember.
There are some small tokens.
Yeah, there's there's weird import
chips.
export issues and stuff where you have to declare stuff if you've got certain components. So I think people just slap on 13 or 14 plus to avoid that kind of thing. Certainly in terms of complexity, it's dead easy. The actual gameplay, you've got 5. So you take on 5 characters, up to 5 characters that, as Leki says, aren't Samurai Jack. I've only seen about 2 minutes of one episode, so I'm not familiar with.
You need to watch more.
I think
really
I will now.
good.
Actually,
it's really
I'll
good.
Watch this, yeah. But you play as these wacky sort of dudes, and you're sort of following Jack around, going on a journey yourself to all these different locations to try and pick up all these cards and help him beat the villains. So I'd trust your words that it adheres closely to the TV show. But in terms of gameplay, you have a hand of 5 cards, and the map is made up of 15 cards of different terrains, hexagons, and you just play a jungle card, and that will move you to the next jungle space along, or a city card that moves you to the next city space along. And then in that space, you collect whatever treasure is at that space.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of variations where the baddie might he follows you as well, Aku. And if he gets you, you can't pick up a card. Or you,
Yeah.
And so Yeah, that's the meat and bones of it. You're moving around the map.
It's a nice little mechanic that does separate it from Tokaido quite well, because Tokaido, you can move as many locations ahead as you want up until the next inn, can't you? So you can move one location as long as there's space. You can move 3, or you can just move up to the next inn.
Yeah. It has the same blocking as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like in Tokaido, you would block someone from using that space to get there.
Exactly. There's only 3 spaces on each location.
And here you're blocking them from getting the equipment cards and stuff.
Yeah, but then in Samurai Jack, there's AI. So there's Jack, who will take up a space, and if you land in the same space as him, you'll get a little boon for it. And then Aku will take up another space after everyone's decided where they're going to go, and you'll get something taken away. So I think if the character falls on you, he'll block you from getting something from like the market section. And also, there's those little tokens that pop out each round, isn't there? So there's 3 mystery tokens.
That's right. Excuse me. There's 4 tokens in the game. There's 2 bad ones and 2 good ones, and you shuffle them up and deal out 3. And they're actually an optional rule, but I wouldn't. Given how brief the rules are, there's no reason not to include them. But yeah, as you say, they're sort of tokens that pre-exist, like they're placed before you start the game. And if you land on them, you can either get the White Wolf, who gives you an extra item, or you get Aku's servants or whatever and
takes one away.
Yeah. So it adds another level of attention. It did get us a few times, didn't it? Both ways.
It did.
All of us either suffered or benefited at some point.
Yeah. This also shares Tokaido's sort of wild. You can't actually keep up with who's winning at what point, because you don't know until people have actually claimed points. So I won the game because I'm the best. But then we thought Raphael was probably going to win it because he won like 2 rounds and he was way ahead on points for most of the game. But then that last round, everyone seemed to like get cards out of nowhere, and he got blocked from actually scoring points, didn't he? And that made all the difference.
Yeah. So nice. each round is a journey through those 15 hexes, isn't it? To the end, and then you get to the end, and there's a villain. And if when you beat him, because you will no matter what. But the idea is you want to collect enough items and bits and pieces that you can match the symbols on your stuff with the symbols on the villain's stuff. And the more you match, the more points you score.
Yeah.
But as you say, you can get blocked by the baddie and by each other. And then once you've scored that, you just deal out the hexes again and start another journey. So there's 2 journeys, 2 villains, and then a third final journey where Aku is the last baddie, isn't he?
Yeah.
And that's when you score more points. But as you say, everyone's in it till the end because you fall behind on points. But if you get maximum points on Aku, you can all of a sudden like leapfrog everyone.
The one thing I did notice, even though I came in late to the game, was between the rounds, at the end of each round, you discard your cards to beat the villain. Yes. So if you've not been able to get enough to do that, or you've not got there first, going into the next round, you still got all of those cards.
Yeah, you've got.
Whereas the person who scored the points has had to discard them all. So
it's kind of catch up.
Yeah, so it's quite a very simple catch up mechanic, but it's it's very simply implemented, but it works perfectly.
It does work well in kind of like giving everyone a little extra helping hand to maybe score next round, but it doesn't punish the player that won as well. So I won the second round, I got the most points. Then in the third round, I still went and got the sort of middle ground of points, which gave me the best total overall. Yeah. So I still picked up some really good cards.
I suppose it does add an element of sort of strategy into it, because you could
definitely
I don't want to win the second round,
the first round.
Keep the better ones for the third round. If you want to try and create extra depth.
That's it. Yeah, and some of the cards correspond to your character, so each character has 3 cards unique to them. And if you pick them up and they've got your face on, they share your colour, you get an extra 2 bonus points when you get a winning tableau at the end. And that can make a big difference as well. So it just gives you something else to look out for, something else for people to block you from picking up. I know Tristan went out of his way to pick up any other character's cards they could say, just to stop it. Semi-cooperative. Yeah, well, in fairness, though, I don't think there's any cooperation going on, really.
At the end, there was only like a point or 2 in between it. So those characters could have made all that difference.
Yeah, just landing on Jack a few times will just give you a few extra bonus points.
There was a point or 2 between you and Daz, between me and Leki. I came in last place. I had about 8 points and you had 23.
I had about 23. Yeah, I counted half my tokens and then decided to declare victory.
Yeah, I don't think my competitive strategy really paid off. But going back to what you said about cooperative, it is actually semi-cooperative, because all of you are benefit if you land on Jack's actual space. So he moves first and then everybody sees where he goes and you can play the card that's going to get you onto that space. But the order of the players really matters, because if you're in last place on the journey of hexes, you'll activate first. So if everybody picks Samurai Jack's space, he's already occupying one space on that tile, and there's only 3 spaces on each tile. So then the next person will move onto his tile. The person after them will move onto his tile. Those guys will be rewarded because they'll gain 1 honor point, and they'll stop Jack from going crazy because somebody has to be on his space. Yeah. But a third person who also wants to go into that space will then get bumped onto the next space along. So all of a sudden that might scupper your plans because you might get shunted from the jungle onto the city, and perhaps there's no cards to pick up in the city. Yeah. So that's something else to think about. And also, if everybody goes, oh, well, they're probably going for Jack, so I might as well go for the next space, and nobody lands on Jack's space, Jack goes insane, and so you move his insanity meter up 1, and that's how you can all lose the game. Yeah. If that rockets up to the top, I think it's only about 8 or 9 spaces, depending on the number of players, and if that hits the end, everybody loses.
We were quite close to that.
We had him, because there's like 3 final spaces before it all goes pear-shaped and you lose. Those 3 final spaces, everyone discards a card each time you hit one, and I think we hit the first one, didn't we?
Yeah.
Or is it the second?
I think it was the first one, but
then we started paying a lot more attention.
To who? Someone look after Jack. Yeah,
exactly. I forgot about it, and when I suddenly realised I've got loads of cards and could do a run for like mega points at the end, I went for the race ahead tactic, but then I suddenly pinged, we need to keep an eye on his insanity, but I'd gone too far ahead of him already. So
that's the other thing, isn't it?
Just race ahead tactic probably won't work all the time.
Him and Aku can both go at a different pace because you flip a card to see where they go from their own deck, and it might be that you're all sort of toddling along, and then suddenly Jack leaps really far ahead, and you're like, well, there's still some bits I need to pick up before I go for the boss, so I'm just going to linger down here. And if everybody does that, Jack runs off to the final boss, and you're all kind of straggling. And if you do the same with Aku, who moves in the same way, so we all move and then Aku moves. Aku, if he gets to the villain first, he'll bags you one of the slots on the villain. So then that blocks you, one of you definitely for sure, from scoring. So it is, again, it's a very sort of simple, but it's a nice kind of way of representing another element of danger and pressure. The components are pretty cool, but they're quite sparse. So I imagine it's sort of, I think it's about 25 quid for the game.
Yeah.
When it comes out.
Your components wise, what I was disappointed with, because being a big like sort of Samurai Jack fanboy, I've not watched the show in ages. There's been a lot of new series that I've missed out on. But what I really enjoyed about it when I was younger was a lot of the stories were based around like big myths and fables. So there's like a 300 episode. There's loads of like original episodes. The actual vibe of the cartoons, it's an Afro-futuristic kung fu adventure odyssey.
Yeah, because there's ravers, isn't there? There's like Spartans, but then ravers.
There's like everything they throw. Like, so there'll be a pastiche on like cyberpunk stuff. There'll be like old school Victorian stuff. One of the characters,
like Adventure Time, that sort of weirdly.
But before Adventure Time, and a bit quirkier. But I really enjoyed it. But what I was hoping for from this game would be like little bits of flavor text on the cards, maybe to reinforce what was happening
remind you of the episode,
what's going on. Yeah, just something that'll make you feel like you're kind of in it with Samurai Jack a little bit more, whereas it's more of these are all like excerpts, like screen grabs taken from the cartoon, which are all really well done. The minis look amazing. Jack doesn't quite look like Jack, neither does the Scotsman, but at the same time, there's a lot more like attention to detail being put in there than like a cardboard standee.
And they're all painted, aren't they?
And they're all painted, and a really good quality as well, and a good size and heft. So for the sort of like the value of the game and what you're going to be paying at the high street versus what you get, I think it's a good sort of payoff, really. Maybe see it a bit cheaper elsewhere. I think it'll probably be a game where once it's been out in the shops for a while, it'll probably come in a bit cheaper and stay there.
It's I would say probably the main criticism for me would be the board. So the sort of hexes that you travel on are fine.
Yeah.
But it's kind of weird that you place them all out, go and beat a villain, and then you have to sort of deal them all back out again. I think that could have been, you could have like a preset board, and then you flip the tiles as you go and reveal them, and then it would then at least give you a sort of a sense of place. Whereas there's no playmat or anything like that, so the hexes are just sort of floating.
I agree with you slightly, but what I did like about the way that the hexes are presented was that your movement's dictated by you picking a card and all revealing it at the same time, and so if you've got a certain location, so mine was the ruins because they were blue, which corresponded to my character. If I played the ruins, then I got all my location cards back. If on one of the rounds there was like the ruins were all clustered at the start, and then there's one at the end. So if I'd played that card too many times, I would have ended up exiting really early. So I had to kind of like hold back and then visit most of the locations and then play the ruins last and jump off the map. So although it does kind of mess it up a little bit and add a bit of extra work for you, it does add a lot more like puzzlement to which locations you're going to go to, when and why.
Yeah, adds a sort of deepness to the already existing.
Exactly, yeah. The actual market deck board that you get just seemed a bit small and, again, a bit sparse.
Yeah, so you've got the big board to hold all the market cards, but no board to hold the hexes.
Yeah.
And I would have thought that because you're physically travelling through the hexes, that would be the bit that warrants the board, maybe.
Yeah,
and the market would be above it, sort of thing. I don't know. It's a minor quibble, but it's kind of weird. And you can set the hexes out however you like, so there's no real... as long as it all follows one path, you can sort of make whatever shape you want.
I could,
whatever line shape you
yeah,
want.
Depending on who you're playing with, I could imagine if you're playing like with younger children, that if they got bored halfway through the game would become rearrange all the hexes to make fun little patterns, which, occupy them, but it will piss me off. It's like trying to play a game here, just leave them where they are. But yeah, again, it's a decent game, easy to learn, really easy to play. We probably wouldn't get too much replayability value out of it before we got really bored of it, but it's super light.
So what are your thoughts?
It's a pretty solid intro game. Intro to a gaming night or to young gamers, I think.
Yeah.
For a well-established group, it's not really going to scratch the itch that we're used to.
It'll be a great first game to it'll be a great first game to introduce someone to board gaming. Like if someone was showing an interest in board games and stuff, get it for like someone.
I think someone who's either got an interest in Samurai Jack or is of a younger generation to introduce them into gaming.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think it's possibly a bit too light even to introduce. But
yeah,
I think it's solid for what it is, and it does what it's meant to do. And it does it pretty well.
Would you play again, Daz?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I agree with what you've said there. I think it'd be a nice family game, easy. I mean, two of us came in tonight, started playing for the first time. We picked it up within a couple of rounds, didn't we? I enjoyed it. There's that little aspect of you can, screw someone over if you want, which is quite nice to have in sort of like a light game like this. So there's a little bit of competitiveness that came out of it, and mild anger from some people, which you can sort of invoke, which is quite nice. But no, all in all, nice game. Every now and again, bring it to the table for a little play beforehand, but I don't think it's going to be one that's majorly on the table.
There you go, yeah. Well, there we have it then. Samurai Jack, Back to the Past, worth having a quick look at if you want to entertain some kiddywinks, or you just want some nice, easy playing, easy to learn fun on the table. The second big game we were playing this week was Resident Evil 2, the board game by Steam Forged Games, and it's just a lovely little
local
game.
Lads, Steam Forged.
They're from Stockport, just down the road.
That's where they're based anyway.
Don't give too much away about where we live. I mean, we'll get hordes of like screaming teenagers shouting at us outside the house and throwing bricks through the windows.
That's definitely our target market.
Hordes of zombies, if they've seen this.
Oh god, yeah. Why can't you be kinder to the poor zombie community? So, how would we describe this game then? A bit of a dungeon explore adventure, fun time. Put the tiles down.
Dudes on a map is what
set it
most
up.
people are calling it now, isn't it? That type of game. 1 to 4 players, age 14 plus. I think they've slapped that on again for the 90 to 120 minutes. It says so.
Yeah,
this is a full-on campaign game.
it's a zombie survival simulator, really, isn't it?
Yeah. I also think. Yeah, I'll put my cards on the table up front. I'm really chuffed with this. I backed it on Kickstarter, and I went all in, so we've got all the extra expansion content and stuff. Although, to be honest, we've not really dug into much of that expansion stuff, really. We're just sort of sticking to the base game characters, base game enemies and everything. But it really captures that Resident Evil 2 vibe.
Yeah.
So what happens is you take it in turns, it's cooperative, you move about and shoot zombies and stuff like that. You've got 4 actions per character each round. And once you've finished, any zombies near you activate, and then you draw a card from the tension deck, and that's sort of the timer for the game. So in that respect, so far, so normal, it's been done before kind of thing.
Yeah.
But in the actual way it plays out, it moves at a clip. It gives you a sense of all of the sort of inventory management and stuff that you got from Resident Evil, where you've only got a certain amount of bullets and stuff. Bullets aren't as effective as you think they're going to be. I think we all discovered this tonight. Or you guys certainly did. You've got a handgun, you've got 15 bullets in it, and each time you fire, you can either fire 1 bullet or up to 3 bullets for 1 action. And each bullet gives you a dice. So the more dice, the more chance you have of doing something. But actually, what you're really doing is just pushing the zombies back. It's really hard to kill them. So each zombie that comes on the board is kind of a threat. But what you do find yourself doing is dodging through and running and evading and stuff and whacking them with a knife along the way and that. And all the stuff in Resident Evil, because in Resident Evil, you're always running out of bullets and stuff. We kind of parked this game just before the end. We've not actually finished this particular scenario, and I'm already completely out of bullets on both weapons. So definitely Resident Evil. I'm going on with myself. Sam?
Yeah, there's a few things that I really like about this. I mean, looking at it, it looks like a typical dungeon crawl when you first glance at the table, but it doesn't feel like it. To me, there's a real sense of urgency all the time. You start off quite a leisurely pace and then go, run out of cards quick here. Now we've got to get to that place, but we haven't got time to get there.
Yeah.
We've stocked up on equipment that we don't need, and we've run out of bullets. So I've got a load of healing stuff, but I don't need any of that because I'm fully healed. But now I've got no bullets, so I'm going to get eaten, so I'm going to have to use up my healing stuff. There's awareness of the zombies, as Tristan said, very difficult to kill. They're also not very good at hurting you, but it's a persistent threat, and they for the most part, and they become more of an obstacle for a lot of it. So you're trying to get to something, and they're slowing you down constantly, and they're just nibbling on you as you run past, but it's just wearing you down all the time.
Just swarm you, don't they?
Yeah.
Like, just make it really difficult to move around.
The way that they have locked doors and keys hidden all over the place, you got to go and find the items to be able to get through the doors. It's very reminiscent of Resident Evil 2.
Doors themselves it's a really nice mechanic because it's like Tristan was saying, there's nothing groundbreaking about any of the game mechanics here, but they're all just introduced in such a way that it just makes you feel like you're playing the old PlayStation game again. And what I really liked is you can open the door and then you can walk through it, and that takes an action. But then if you close the door, that's another action to close it again. The advantage of doing that is that any zombies on the other side of the door will stop activating when you do stuff, which is great. They're not going to try and follow you through it. They're just going to kind of shamble along in the corridor. But if you're in a rush and you choose not to, you're going to move an extra item, and they'll start just kind of dispersing all the way through the house, and you can end up with like a real problem. And it's a nice little dilemma to give somebody.
Well, it is, because also when you lock them into a room, as we found with this one, we've got to go back that way, and they're just sat there waiting for you to come back. So you've gone, I managed to avoid those. I managed to run away from them. And you're like, oh, crap. Now I've used up all my ammo. And I've worn out my health. I've got to go back into that room where they're all sat there waiting for me. And the beauty of the tension deck is there's stuff in there that will mess up with your plans all the time as well. So early on, it's fairly simple. Most of it's like all clear. There's not much going on. But the further you get through the campaign and stuff, it gets harder and it's more tense. And every time you flip that over, you could go from locking a door and everything being completely safe to suddenly everything spawns on you, or new monsters appear, new crows and zombies appear all the time. So you never quite feel safe even when you think you're doing all right. And that timer just disappears so quickly.
Yeah, I was quite surprised actually, because initially it looked like it was going to be a trudge from point A to point B to the end, and that's it. Obviously, you could see some of the preset zombies, but yeah, it does ramp up really quickly in terms of things happening. And yeah, with the opening and the closing of doors, the combat aside, it's a bit like zombie management, isn't it? Trying to make sure, you don't, or you leave certain rooms clear as well. Because you can start racing towards something, but then you can forget that someone else needs to come back, through that passageway as well. For instance, I'm looking at the moment, there's a room where we've done it in such a way, there's 5 zombies all in the corner there, and there's some scared. Who was that again? I can't remember. So she's in the opposite corner of that room, and, it's like, going up the stairs. There's little mini scenarios that have kind of appeared throughout, what did we play it for? About an hour there, was it?
About an hour and a half.
But yeah, and it felt like it was a lost cause, didn't it? And amazingly, Sam picked up on a sort of special action that he could do, which was reactivate and take his turns again, which got us to the save point, which is quite a nice touch as well, using the typewriter from the game. And we're still going, unbelievably. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it actually.
It also messes with your plans in so many ways. You're talking then about opening the door, running through, shut the door behind you so that the zombies are sealed in that room, and you're like, yes, okay, it might be a problem when we come back or whatever. But then the tension deck will play a card like the zombies come through. So like you just spent all that time, shutting them off, and then they just appear anyway and bust through and stuff. Just like in the game, there was all those moments where they just suddenly burst out and that. So I love that about it as well. But also, all the maps are pre-made, they're all based on the maps from the game, and they all have these interesting logic puzzles that you have to sort of go through. So I've actually played the whole campaign through solo already, but I'm replaying it now with you guys, and it's a completely different experience because you're managing 4 characters and you're having to split out the load and the time and the items and everything else. It's a completely different set of strategic decisions, which I'm sort of, I suggest stuff and having played it, and then Sam will go, no, if we do this is a better move, and I'm like, oh yeah, and because there's so many different sort of elements to it and things going on and timings. It's also got when you move into certain rooms are more dangerous than others, so you roll a dice and there could be extra monsters in there or grasping sort of tentacles and things that will affect your move. There's corpses all the way through the map, which you guys have rolled really well. Because there's a chance when you move on to them, they'll pop up and turn into actual zombies. That happened to me all the time when I was playing alone. I was just rolling ones all the time.
I'm amazed only one of them actually reanimated, and we just ran away and left him with the rest of the zombie horde.
But yeah, you've got the diamond keys, locked doors and stuff. You've got...
Yeah.
If you do play the campaign, you can carry certain items over from scenario to scenario, so you really need to make sure you sort of pick up as many items as you can as you're moving through. But then you might find the way it plays out, you just cut off, and if I have to go back and try and get that shotgun, I might have to go past the liquor, and they're a real pain in the bum. It took 3 of us gunning through the doorway to try and take out a liquor.
But you don't know it's a shotgun though. There's there's the good items, and then there's just sort of regular items. But that good item, there's one on each map. It seems to be in each scenario, hidden in the corner of a locked room somewhere.
That's specific to this. There's normally a few more actually, but this scenario has one particularly really cool item, which we've not quite got to.
But it's tantalising, but at the same time, it's like all the way on the other side of the map. Yeah. Can Claire go get it? We're just close enough. It'll be interesting to see if that happens. But when you mentioned about the keys as well, what was nice about one of the scenarios is we're searching for a key to open the door, but there's a clue that says maybe check the items, and then you find a red jewel, and it's like, oh, I wonder what you'll do with this red jewel. And it's like, well, you find another one and swap it for a key. It's like, fair enough. But then immediately we're like, yeah, so this goes in a statue. And you put it in the statue's eyes and the face will open and there'll be a key behind it.
This is Capcom.
Yeah, totally. So it's very evocative of like the Resident Evil games. I didn't really play too much of them, but I did enjoy them. And it just brings it all coming back, really.
But the one thing it does away with in the computer game was like the poor camera angles where you couldn't see anything. So it actually improves drastically on that. Yeah.
And the load time.
Oh yes, and that, and the voice acting. We have to do that ourselves, which is to reach the heady heights.
Actually, you say poor camera angles. If I had to make a criticism, I would say that the board is really dark. The tiles are really dark, which is cool. It's thematic and everything.
But you can't tell what's going on.
You can't really make out too many of the details, and I can see there's cool art under there, but it's so dark, it's hard to make out. And what that does lead to, for example, with the door tokens, which are flat, they're not 3D like standees or anything. A couple of times we've leaned over and gone, is that door open, or is it closed? And there's a lockbox token, which is exactly the same as a door token. So there is a little bit of some of these things could have been just boosted the brightness on it a little bit.
It's probably too much of a slave of its chosen IP, really, isn't it? So like the doors as you would have seen them rendered on the PlayStation game, but because they wanted to save so much memory, it was a black screen with the door in it. So they've done the tiles as like a black screen with the door in it or whatever, but it just doesn't quite pop enough. So some of them you have to really, really get in up close and personal to see what they actually do. They're
perched as well, aren't they, between the tiles?
Yeah.
And there's also the wall tokens, and these, I have to say, I do love the game, but these are the worst things about it. These, I don't know if you're supposed to stand them up or not. They just look like, when you're punching them out, they look like an error, on the token sheet on the punch board. Yeah, of course. They just look like, oh, is that part of the game? And then you set up a map, be like, oh, that's not just part of the game. That's a really crucial area delineating piece. And you're like, oh, right. And it just looks, I think because your expectations are raised a little bit, you've got cooler miniatures and artwork from the game and stuff. And then you just get these little bits of weird shaped card. And I don't even know, is that supposed to stand up or lie down?
I think it's meant to stand up. I think you did it right. It looks like it's like a fake wall, isn't it?
But then if you slot two together, look, the corners.
Oh, they're doing mitre that way.
But then they don't, because they've got a little bubble sticking out. Anyway,
yeah,
minor quibbles, but it's the kind of thing where when you get like this nicely overproduced games with miniatures and stuff, it would just be nice to take it out one step further and get standy doors and stuff. The other thing I was just going to say before I pass the mic back is Zombicide is the other game that springs to mind when I think of this game, obviously.
Yeah.
And Zombicide had this, I like it as a sort of light game and everything, but it has this massively sort of obviously unplay tested point in the game where the spawn points are so crazy. You're heaping down like tons of miniatures that don't even fit on the tile that they're supposed to fit on. You can spawn 25 zombies on that space, and you physically can't fit them on the game. And it just gets to that point where it's like, oh,
yeah,
it's tipped past the point of reasonable play, and you're just moving a massive wad of plastic along the board. Whereas this, all the scenarios feel carefully planned out, play tested, clever, and gripping.
Yeah,
and that really stands out from playing tons of miniatures games where you're like, oh, it's cool, it looks cool, it plays fun, but this feels a bit janky and stuff. In terms of gameplay, none of it really feels janky. It all feels like if you brought it to a point where you're getting overwhelmed, it's probably because of something you've done.
And each scenario feels like you've got just enough turns in order to complete them. Like Zombicide, it's pulpy. It's meant to be a bit tongue-in-cheek, isn't it? It does go stupid. I think you get 3/4 of the way through a level in Zombicide and you realise you've already lost. And that's probably where the fun is. But at the same time, it's frustrating. But it's completely different kettle of fish. That's where the similarities end, is they've both got zombies. The puzzles in Resident Evil are just a lot more difficult. You feel like you're really meant to explore the map, whereas Zombicide, you're just kind of hitting X's, aren't you? And so you're getting in and out as quickly as possible.
Yeah, in Zombicide, you hole up in a room, search, and just keep getting items. In this, you spend ages trying to get to one specific item to pick it up, and then you're like, right, now I've got to hot foot it all the way across this map, and it matters. The map matters. So once you've been to a location, as we said before, when you have to go back through it, just like you did in the game, you've got to account for that and how much time you've got left and where the next typewriter is and how much ammo you've got and what have you left behind to face, and or did you spend the time to clear the room before you headed off? So it feels really neat, and all of the scenarios feel like none of them feel like they've scribed on any. There's the introductory scenario, which is dead quick, just to introduce you to the rules, but each one gradually introduces more and more threat, more cards to the tension deck, newer sort of scarier elements and stuff, more souped up baddies, and then there's bosses, which we've not even talked about yet. We've not even got to the bosses.
Yeah, but then you've got the danger tables moving into like yellow areas and red areas. You've got to roll a dice and see just how badly you're going to get done over the next turn. Some of them are pretty malign, some of them are a bit like horrible. We got caught out by one or two of them. There is, though, the dreaded miss a turn mechanic reared its head. Thematically.
Even that, it's down to a roll of a dice. It's not just miss a turn, which
I'm
kind of more forgiving of. But yeah, it's still there. Just teasing. But I mean, it does feel like there's a lot of risk in this, but a lot of it you can mitigate. It doesn't feel like it's all luck. Even though there's some element of dice, I think you roll the dice assuming that you're not going to be able to shoot something. So it's nice when it happens. It's not really just like with a lot of them, you just roll as many dice as you can and then you'll probably hit with this. Or, you know, you kind of think, I'm going to shoot this zombie more to move the others around and more to draw attention to myself than necessarily to kill something. If I kill it, that's great, but don't really expect it to happen. So I kind of think that, and the way that there's a roll of a dice for the rooms when you go into them, but the chance of it being bad is not, you know, it's going to be uncomfortable more. You know, it might spawn one zombie, but the chance of it being really bad is 1 in 6.
Yeah.
And the best thing that can happen is nothing. So it's not like, you know, you always know it's going to be something negative, something detrimental, but it's not that bad at this stage.
It could ramp up maybe in further scenarios.
So even though there is the elements of luck, it doesn't feel like that's sort of a driving factor in this game.
No,
It feels like it's a bit added on. You know,
it feels much more like a game that's going to punish you for making just silly decisions, or
you feel more control, don't you?
Or for even not thinking about every eventuality, like the zombies running rampant through a corridor. That was mainly because we took extra care to clear them out earlier in the game, so we just never bothered closing the doors. Then when Neil started spawning again, they could just go where they wanted. Fun.
Yeah, I guess when you get your head round managing the zombies like we eventually did on this one as well, I imagine
it was already too late.
So this campaign, there was one licker, wasn't there? And it did take us sort of 3 of us on the square opposite to deal with it, and we did deal with him pretty quickly. But I guess, you know, campaign after this, there might be 2 or 3, and they move towards you, don't they? Every time you move. So again, it's sort of double the intensity of what the zombie is. And then I'm looking at some of these other big beasts here who I recognise from the game, so God knows what they do. But it is. I felt at times like it was we were done for, but it is doable. And I think you've just got to sort of take stock and make sure you're all talking to each other and not just rushing off. It's very, very cooperative, which is great.
Given the time elements, you definitely have to, as you say, you have to cooperate, because there's just you can't be the guy that goes and gets all the stuff and does all the cool things. You've really got to share out that responsibility. So we had 2 guys on one side of the map and 2 guys on the other, and we all had to just sort of meet in the middle. But then you find yourself branching off with different, okay, you go and sort out the statue, and Sam stay behind and, you know, clear that area and keep a safe path for us. And, you go and deal with the liquor sort of thing. And you find these sort of emerging roles as you go along, and like mini narratives kicking off around the board, which, I mean, obviously the video game was solo. So to play it with 4 characters, I did wonder how that would go down. But actually, it dovetails really neatly.
I think Leki did actually become the master of keys, or the master of unlocking.
Master of unlocking.
Definitely master of unlocking.
Whether they built that in to happen, I don't know, as a little Easter egg. But at the moment, you are running around with the keys that we need. So
I don't know. I think it's just one of those little narrative coincidences. Like our 3 sort of police-related characters were all sort of like clustered together, checking our corners and like keeping each other's backs, you know, all cozy and not bitten. And then Sam's Ada Wong was just running up and down the stairs, murdering zombies, trying not to be seen by us.
I was trying to fit in with how the character would play out.
Yeah, exactly. You did very well, very well. For everyone in the campaign, Tristan, you mentioned earlier that there's an element of crafting in terms of like weapons. How does that work out?
So again, it shines if you play it in campaign mode. Definitely, we jumped in today on episode 3, which works okay because it tells you the starting items you need to start with, and it doesn't feel like we missed anything out. It gives you. We had a shotgun and a bowgun between us, which is cool because you sort of amped up a little bit from the last missions. If you'd missed them out in the campaign game, you'd be really gutted if you got to this point and you still had just a handgun. So when if you miss an item when you're going through, it's really going to prey on your mind. You know, was it just a herb? Was it green herb? Or was it like the custom parts for the handgun?
Yeah.
And if you get that, it's ace. Just like in the game, when you upgrade the handgun, all of a sudden you're doing headshots on the zombies and you feel totally badass. They've put this into the mechanics in the game here as well, where you can get the custom handgun and it changes your dice rolls. So instead of having to, essentially, they're tailored dice, so they've got the blast symbols and the dodge symbols and stuff. But there's a 6 on there, isn't there? Basically, a double blast. So you've got a 1 in 6 chance with a regular bullet of killing a zombie. With the custom handgun, you can add the different blast symbols together from different dice to create that double blast symbol kind of thing.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense to anybody listening.
Yeah, so
2 5s make a 6.
Yeah, kind of thing. Or yeah. So it all of a sudden empowers you, and the next time you do that, firing off 3 bullets at once, you've got a really good chance of taking out a zombie, and failing that, just blasting him really far back down the corridor kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then of course there's all the good stuff down there. There's grenade launchers, and you know, if you get the grenade launcher, that's cool. But then the next scenario, you might get acid rounds for the grenade launcher. You know, so it's constantly giving you this sort of yes, and that moment where the sort of empowerment kind of thing, power gaming, I guess. But you really feel like you earned it when you get there, and you know you've only got a precious few grenades. So you're like, oh, I'm just going to wipe out this room full of zombies, but you can't because there's a boss you need to save them for, and it's just full of those beautifully agonizing decisions that you get in games like this that are well done. But I just want to go back and say again how great I think the individual design of the scenarios is, because each one of them provides a cool, unique puzzle, and the mechanics that run the zombies and everything is almost incidental to the thing you have to solve to beat this one scenario. And just having that tension deck ticking down and having to rush to the typewriters to renew it, it's just really, really keeps the pace up. And it's the kind of game, I've played it to death over Christmas, completed the campaign, and I've not even touched the expansion scenarios, but playing it through again now, even with the same character, I'm still playing Leon in this. And I would, I'd happily go through the whole campaign again with Leon, with 4 players, to see, the difference, because it does feel completely different from playing it by yourself.
Just opens it up a little bit. Nice. It'll be nice to play some more scenarios and see how they differ and how the sort of like the themes sort of like stack up, because we've only played like the introductory game, and I've only played this of one. Sam's played an extra one as well.
We'll have to do a boss one at some point, because they get their own AI decks as well, so they're a bit like the bosses in Dark Souls, where you never know what they're going to do next, but they're always going to do something, and once they've started activating, they'll rinse you in every player's turn, kind of thing.
It was a great follow up, really, because to Dark Souls, because Dark Souls is the only other Steamforged game that I've played, and I was a little bit worried when we're coming into this that it'll be basically the Dark Souls game engine with Resident Evil stuff. And what I really didn't like about Dark Souls was that if you got defeated, you had to start at the beginning and go all the way through it again. And it felt really grindy. And I'm not a big fan of the grindy games. Like some dungeon crawlers, I struggle with a little bit, because I just feel like, well, we're just going to waste about 6 nights worth of play, then upgrade some stuff, and then go up against some harder enemies. Whereas this, it's not grindy at all, really. Like you're saying, it's more of a puzzle with some zombies thrown in, and even how you fight them feels a bit puzzly at times. Really, really enjoyed it.
Final thoughts, Daz?
Really enjoyed it. Love how it sort of evokes the feeling of the original, which is a game I loved and played quite a lot. Little touches as well, like you showed me before. There's the tofu character. If is that a spoiler? I'm not sure. Do you unlock it? Right, okay. But they've lovingly sort of recreated all the different elements of the game and turned it into a cracking board game. Really and I'd really like to play a few more scenarios at some point.
Yeah, really enjoying it. Want to play more?
Well done, Steamforged. well done. You've taken something that we all love, and you've basically given us another reason to love it so much. They have really brought new life into an old franchise.
Just in time for the video game high def re-release.
Oh, the demo of that looks amazing. Just go on YouTube now and watch it. Don't do it in dark. Wait until it's morning. It looks horrible in a really good way.
Is that the one where it compares it to the original? So you've got like the new high def version, and then it's split screen with the old.
I've not seen that one. No,
that's worth a watch as well.
It's the devs just playing through like the first 5 minutes of the game, and it's like, it looks really gory and fascinating. Yeah, fantastic. So we'll definitely just give Resident Evil 2 a go if you can do. Well worth it if you're still waiting on your copy arriving in the post. I think that most of them probably dropped now, haven't they?
This was a complete surprise to me because I actually, usually with Kickstarters, I sort of drop out of the updates and wait for it to arrive as a nice surprise. But this, and I know that they had problems with Dark Souls.
Right, okay.
Some of it was delayed, and some of the expansions. This all just arrived pretty much, as far as I know, without even notifications before Christmas.
Sick.
So, and it was like stacks of boxes. I did manage to get all of the expansion stuff into the base box, so all of the other boxes have gone.
It can be done.
But yeah, no, I'm assuming I couldn't comment on it, to be honest, but I'm pretty sure that they're well into delivery. If not, everybody's probably got it.
Fair enough. So yeah, check it out. Resident Evil 2. If you're lucky enough to have a copy, then well done you for backing it on Kickstarter.
I'm sure it'll be going to retail.
Oh yeah, definitely. So that's it. We've got a nice little community of an audience built up now. I can't throw actual numbers on it because I don't know, but I'm going to guess there's about 100 people that listen to each episode, which is really super duper lovely. We do have a favour to ask you listeners, could just review us on iTunes. That helps out a little bit. I think everyone's already subscribing because the numbers look pretty solid. So just say how much you like it, and if you don't like it, then be quiet. Shh. Encourage a friend that does like it to put something on the review. So thanks very much for that. We'll be back nice and soon, hopefully, with more games. Until then, goodbye.
Ta-ta.
See ya.
So long.